Hey everybody, this is Craig Cottle, the Director of Nature Reliance School, and in the dance plan course today, what we're going to be taking a look at is some methodologies for weatherproofing and waterproofing, not necessarily waterproofing your gear, but some of the things that you can wear on your gear, some of the things that you can wear on yourself to help keep you dry in a situation where you have a lot of rain or a lot of moisture or something of that nature. The inside of each of these motorized cars seem to fit.
Waiting on word from city or state officials to see what's going on, what they can tell us.
So, let's first off discuss why it is that we want to keep things dry. Well, from an obvious perspective, anything that gets wet may not function properly, and so I can consider things like food, tents, stuff of that nature, that if they are completely soaked with water, they do not function the way they intended to function. And so if you get wet, basically what happens when you sweat is designed to be on your body to cool you off. And so if you put or introduce to your body any form of moisture, whether you get into water, whether water falls on you, or somebody puts water on you, then what's going to happen is that your body is going to start to cool off. Now in hot weather, that's not a problem, okay? Obviously in hot weather where your temperature is raised, cooling down is a good thing. So using water at particular times is a very good thing. However, if the temperature is even 75 to 80 degrees and you get water on you and you get a breeze or wind blowing across you or something of that nature, sorry, I turned the phone off before I got this one started, then what's going to happen is that your body can cool down and you can get hypothermic. And so I've written extensively on hypothermia. So if you care to, then just do a Google search on Dan's Depot, Nature Reliance School, Craig Cottle, hypothermia. Hypothermia being a situation where your body's own regulated temperature drops below a certain level. And a lot of people don't realize that. Well, a lot of people realize your body's supposed to be 98.6 degrees, but a lot of people don't realize that even getting down to 96 degrees, for example, is a very dangerous situation. And so when your body starts to cool off, you've got to do everything you can to get it warmed up immediately. And again, I've written extensively on that. But one of the things that we don't take a look at and don't consider is how to stay dry in a rainy situation, because rain on a 60 degree day is a very dangerous situation if you're just sitting in the rain. So with that said, I'm going to go through some different rain jackets, some tarps, some considerations, stuff that you can spray on gear. Also, I want to do some considerations on what you can do if you don't have any gear. So I'm glad you joined us for this lesson. First and foremost, one of the things that we would consider is that you should always be nature aware or situationally aware. And so what I mean by that is that even in an urban preparedness situation, if I go out, let's say my wife and I are going to go out to dinner in a nearby town, because in our town there's not a lot of great places to eat dinner. So let's say my wife and I want to go out to a nice dinner and we go to Lexington, Kentucky, which is nearby to us. So if we don't have adequate supplies in our vehicle and it's cold weather and it starts to rain and there's an earthquake, okay? Not saying that I go out thinking there's an earthquake every night. I don't go out every time that I go somewhere and think, oh man, there's going to be an earthquake, I gotta get this stuff. But what I do is that I have a car kit available to me. I have my go bag that goes with me, and we've talked about that extensively. And in that, I have the ability to take care of hypothermic situations. And so it's not that I'm going around thinking that an earthquake's going to happen every time I go out to dinner, but what I do have is the assurance of having the kit supplies that I need in case one does. So from that perspective, you should have supplies that go with you everywhere. Now, with that said, the other thing I would recommend is what happens if you're new and you don't have a kit or you don't have the ability or afford one yet, and you're doing the budgeting thing and trying to figure out how to get supplies ready. What do you do if you don't have any supplies? Well, one of the best things that you can do is to make sure that you are situationally aware and know where shelter is at all times, okay? So what happens in the situation here in where I live in small rural Kentucky, where tornado strikes. Tornadoes are a very likely possibility here, not in this time of year, but in the springtime, where a tornado hit like a tornado hit a nearby town 2 years ago and just leveled the town here. And basically those people were left without any shelter. What do? Do you know if your town gets leveled, where would you go for shelter? Naturally. Are there caves nearby? Are there wooded environments that could provide shelter for you if you could build one? If you're in an urban situation, do you notice the buildings that are around you so that if something happens and you can't leave, there's a huge riot or something of that nature, do you know where to find shelter out of the rain? So, first and foremost, if you can carry shelter with you, it's a good idea. And I'm telling you these urban and rural situations so that you can at least consider the things that you need to put in your kit. Now, I've got a range of stuff that I'm going to go through today. So when I mean a range of stuff that costs everything from basically a few cents to just slightly over $100. Okay, so there's quite a range of stuff that you can get and add to your kit to make the situation where you deal with rain a much better and more safer situation for yourself. First and foremost, there's two variations of stuff that you can spray on any garment whatsoever to help make them waterproof. One is something such as Nick Wax, or basically this is polar proofing and waterproofing that you spray and or wash your garments in the washer with. Okay, now usually this stuff right here comes from backpacker stores, and I'm not saying it doesn't work, it works, but it's incredibly expensive. Like this bottle right here, it's $13. It's only going to be able to do a few garments and you spray on. I'm not saying it doesn't work. Again, it works well. However, you can go to your local big box store like a Walmart or something, if you're not opposed to shopping there, and get something as simple as a silicone water guard. This bottle right here was just $4 or $5, something of that nature, and it's going to do a whole lot more garments than the spray bottle that we just detailed. So those are some options for you, is taking any garment that you have and just liberally spraying it with material, and it has to be impregnated with something such as silicone so that the silicone can seep into the garment and basically make it waterproof. Now, if you have a garment that is something like Gore-Tex, which is a high-end garment, costs a lot of money, and you spray silicone gel on it, basically you're going to take away some of the breathability of that fabric away. So be aware that if you're going to utilize these spray-ons, that if you're utilizing it on the high-end stuff, you're probably going to run into problems. Now, with those aside, let's consider some of the garments that you can actually buy. Okay, first and foremost, let's take a look at tarps. Now, this is a tarp that one of our students left over at a class, and that's why I have it, because I wouldn't have bought this tarp. But these, what I would consider cheap plastic tarps that you can get, again, at your big box stores, your home improvement stores. Basically, if you look at it, and it has threaded material in it, and the little squares inside there are somewhere around 1/16 of an inch, then basically you've bought a really cheap tarp, okay? And the reason I say that is because these are not designed, they give the appearance that they might be something that's ripstop, but they're not, okay? Basically, those particular tarps are very susceptible to acids and other alkalines. They're going to break down the fabric, and that could include stuff that falls in the rain. That could also include basically anything that you might eat, even orange juice or something of that nature could easily break down those tarps. And when I say break down, it's not going to eat it away, but it's going to start to decay it rather quickly. UV light also breaks those tarps down, and so if you're utilizing a tarp or having that in your kit, then let's say you have it in the back of your car or the back of a truck or something of that nature, the sunlight hits it, it's going to start breaking it down. So what we recommend is one of two things, and there's several different stores that you can get these from. This is the Dan's Depot tarp. Now, Dan's Depot has a nylon tarp, and this is very important because this is not plastic, this is nylon, and it is also ripstop. You can also get military ponchos, which are made exactly the same way. Now, the problem with these tarps is that when you buy them, they're going to be waterproof. That's not the problem. The problem is that if you use them, they are going to eventually break down, because basically the way that silicone works is that it gets impregnated into the fibers of the nylon, and it holds it. And then the more it breaks, or not breaks, but the more it bends and is used, the more it gets broken down, and the more the silica that is inside the fabric falls out or falls off. And that's why you'll get, particularly, you'll see this a lot. It'll look something like this inside of a military poncho. You'll see they'll put a lot of that right around the seams of a poncho like this right here, and you'll see that it starts breaking off. That's basically that covering, that silica gel that's been impregnated in that material. So if you're going to utilize those, we highly recommend that you go about spraying those down once a year at least. If you use them a lot, like we use ours a lot in classes, like we use these, you know, they'll go out and be used 100 times a year in a class. Then we'll go ahead and spray those down on a very regular basis. Sometimes every time we go out, we'll spray them down. And so you want to make sure that you do that. And another thing that you've seen us review a lot is the Hennessy hammocks that we use. We spray our tarps down on our hammocks on a very regular basis. Matter of fact, we keep a bottle of that silica gel in our class material, so that whenever we set them up, we can spray them down, because we know that they definitely need it because they get used a lot. Now, with that said, those are tarps, and they're very useful. However, if you're going to try to do any type of work, then you're going to have something that you can utilize that makes you more mobile. So the Dan's Depot tarp, I've reviewed it extensively. Quite frankly, I think it's the best tarp out there. Obviously, I helped design it. Dan helped design it. Matt put some info in on it, so we think it's a real useful tarp. But military ponchos are a little bit smaller and a little other things. You can see that in review. If you look up Dan's Depot tarp, you can see all the ins and outs of that tarp and why I like it so much. Now, one of the things that if I try to go about hiking, let's say I'm hiking and the wind's blowing and I've got that tarp wrapped around me, then it's not going to be a real effective tool for me to move about and get a lot of work done, particularly just the work being just me walking around. So what I want to make sure that I do is have something that I can actually wear. And so now we're going to take a look at a few things that I've got here that I can actually wear to make getting work done more useful. So one of the things that, let's say we have this urban event and we're caught unaware, we don't have any supplies. And again, I know that's probably why you're watching these videos, so you can get your supplies and you know what to get. So make sure you watch the dance plan course in detail, because I go into detail about the things to put in your kit. Now with that said, let's say you're coming to us for the first time and now you're just watching one webinar and you really don't have any supplies, or for some reason you've lost your supplies, okay? So one of the greatest tools that you can find, and you can find these almost anywhere except in a wilderness situation, is garbage bags. So in an urban preparedness situation, there's going to be garbage bags virtually everywhere, and sometimes they might have garbage in them. Now, one of the things that if you're in a large urban facility, let's say it's a workplace or something of that nature, that a lot of cleaning staff, sanitation staffs will do, they make a habit of this often, is that they'll almost always have an extra garbage bag in the bottom of the garbage can where they change garbage, okay? And this is because, let's say they're out and they're doing their work, which I've said this a million times, but sanitation workers and those that pick up garbage and those that clean the places that we live and work is one of the most vital aspects of normal society that I could ever imagine, okay? I mean, it's just one of those things that for some reason we don't hold those people in high regard because it's garbage, but I'm telling you right now, sanitation is one of the most important things about a normalized society. I can't thank those people enough. With that said, they're out doing their work and they run out of garbage bags. Well, if they run out of garbage bags, they want to continue to gather the garbage and stuff of that nature. And so they'll always have, oftentimes a lot of places will have an extra garbage bag in the bottom of the can. So if they run out, they can just, until they get back to wherever the warehouse is or whatever, they can continue to change the bag. So keep that in mind. If you're at a restaurant, if you're at hotel, if you're at a motel, you're at a large facility, warehousing, manufacturing facility, they'll almost always have extra garbage bags. Now, with that said, if it's a situation where I need to walk out into the rain, then I'm going to pick a garbage bag up, and I don't care if it does have garbage in it, I'm going to dump the garbage out and utilize it as cover. Okay, you can simply turn it on the inside out, let the rain hit it, and in short order, you're going to have a clean garbage bag, so it's not that big of a deal. So, with that said, garbage bags are an incredibly useful tool. Here's the thing that's problematic when you're wearing a garbage bag, because basically all you got to do, if you have particularly one of these big gallon, 55-gallon drum garbage bags in your kit, which is what I recommend, just cut a hole in the top, cut a hole for your arms, and you basically walk around in your shelter. If you don't want to do that, if you just want to sit down and hunker down, then basically you can put it over your body. Just be aware that you're not going to be able to breathe so well. So it would be my recommendation that you cut a hole at least for your head, and that way your head gets to ventilate some of the heat. You don't get excessively hot. You can find some sort of other cover. You can find another garbage bag that you can hold over your head while you're wearing the other one. Keep yourself dry and stuff of that nature. Now, so with that said, garbage bags are an incredibly useful tool. They cost cents, and so it's too stupid not to have one of these in your kit. So make sure that you have these, and again, be situationally aware. Wherever you go to school, wherever you frequent the mall, you go to work, you go to play, whether it's playing basketball, pick up basketball, whatever, notice where the garbage cans are so that you know where shelter is almost immediately. So the next thing that I want to point out, because these are getting really popular, and they've gotten so popular that they're fairly inexpensive, is frog togs. And one of the reasons I want to talk about frog togs is not necessarily sell frog togs, because I don't sell these, but they are incredibly lightweight. They're, for the most part, the heavier duty ones are pretty durable, and they're for the most part breathable, because basically frog togs and frog togs jackets, this is basically a frog tog jacket. Okay, so with this jacket, what I've got is immediate cover, something I can cover myself up with. It's got a zipper on it. The thing I like about this particular setup is that the zipper also has a storm flap, which is one of the things that I highly recommend that you should get, because most zippers on rain jackets, if the zipper is exposed, there's not a zipper in the world that can be made that's waterproof, because just by their nature of their design, they've got small holes in them. So whatever zipper you've got, you want to make sure that you have it such that it has a storm flap over it. Some of these are Velcro, some of these are button snaps, so choose whatever you want to. But what you can do with a frog tog is you can zip it all the way up around your neck, and again, this makes it such that it is breathable, and you can vent some of the moisture and heat that's coming off of you by not wearing a hood. But it also has a hood as well that actually you can button off and on. So if I wanted to, I could just wear that on my head, but I can also keep it as part of the jacket, which is what I recommend. Now the beauty of these frog togs, again, is that they're incredibly cheap for the most part and very lightweight, so they take very little space, they take very little weight to carry in a go bag, in a go kit, and you've got immediate shelter that you can wear. And I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to have shelter that you can wear and you can continue to work on. Let's say it is a wilderness situation and you need to be out and you need to get stuff done, like picking up firewood or something. If you wear a garbage bag and you pick up an armful of firewood, then basically you're going to create holes in it. Okay, you wear that, you're not. So with that said, this is not the most durable material in the world. Okay, so for example, I've already done the video for Nature Reliance School Online. I actually did it first. So the video that follows this one, I've got the frog togs jacket, a military poncho, and another jacket I'm going to show you a bit later. And I go out and I walk through a wilderness situation as well as an urban situation for for a mile. And I do so, and then I come back and document it all on video. So check that video out next with Nature Reliance School. With that said, it has been my experience that frog togs are not the greatest at durability. My son and I wore them on a weekend trip where we were teaching about 2 years ago, and it was one of those situations, probably the most miserable class I've ever taught. It was raining when we pulled up, it was still raining when we left, and it never slowed down the whole time. And so everything that we did was in absolute pouring down rain. One of those flash flood situations where there was a lot of issues going on, rain just continuing to come down over and over and over again. And the frog togs just kept falling apart in a situation where we were going out into the wilderness, because it was a wilderness survival class, and we were teaching things where we had to get through greenbriers and blackberry briars and any number of things. And so in that regard, the frog togs are not incredibly durable, but for the value you get and what it is you get for the money, I highly recommend having them in a car kit. I wouldn't recommend them having in your go bag where it's going to be a long-term situation, but in a short-term situation where basically you're just walking, it's a fantastic addition to your kits. So again, frog togs is something that I would recommend, because you can get pants and you get a jacket fairly inexpensively. They come compacted, and you can put them in a car kit. And it's something that, I'm not saying you can't carry them around, you can, but in a long-term wilderness situation, they're just simply not going to hold up. That's been my experience. Okay, so the next jacket that I wanted to show you was basically the jacket I wear most of the time. This is a Rothco Spec Ops jacket. So the reason I like this jacket is because it is incredibly durable. I mean, I can run through briars with this thing on, and it's not going to tear up. There's some features about it that I really like. Number one, it's got these pockets that even after I get this zipped up, and this is the only bad thing I don't like about this jacket. If you read the reviews on it, this is a Rothco Spec Ops jacket. If you'll read the reviews on them, everybody says the same thing, and that is the zipper doesn't work real well. It's hard to get started. Now, okay, so what I've got here is, let me pull this where you can see this better. So, Spec Ops jacket, basically you've got it zipped up. You've got a storm flap that you can put over everything, and that keeps the water out. It also has these pockets that are in close to your body, so you can put electronic devices, keep them waterproof, but they're also quick access. So that's one of the features that I like about it. Now, some of the other things about this jacket that I like is it has pit zippers. And so not only can I ventilate around my neck, I can also ventilate all the way down to my armpits with this jacket on. So not the easiest to open up, I will say that. One-handed particularly. But I do have pit zips that, when unzipped, all the way down to my armpits, allow a lot of ventilation, because your body's going to sweat and ventilate a lot through your armpits just by the way it's made, your body that is. And so these pit zips allow a lot of that to come out without and keep you dry at the same time. So in that regard, this is one of those jackets that has the features that somebody is going to be doing a lot of work. This jacket is based off some military jackets that I've seen. I just don't have one of them. But it's got pockets on it on the sleeves so that you can do pens and pencils and other electronic devices, notebooks and stuff of that nature. It's got large handhold pockets. It's got pockets that you can put gear in that are pretty like bellows, so you can put large items in. And again, it's got shock cord on the middle so that you can keep it against your waist, shock cord on the bottom so you can keep it against your hips, and it's an incredibly useful jacket. Now, what I have the benefit of knowing is that if I have to do a lot of work, like I can cut firewood in that jacket, okay? I mean, with a maul and an axe and stuff of that nature, and do a lot of work, and it's not going to be problematic for me. I can actually do a lot of work in it. But what I run into is that particular jacket does not breathe very well at all. That jacket actually has a zip-in fleece liner, and that's one of the other reasons I like it, is that if it gets cold, I can also wear it, and I don't have to have another complete jacket system. So these modular jacket systems, in my opinion, are the way to go, because you want to dress in layers and you want to have it such that you can take things on and off easily. Sorry about that quick cut off there. I had a memory full on the camera. So I don't know exactly where I got cut off, but basically with these Spec Ops jackets, you can do a lot of work. You can put a liner in them. You get the benefits of the hood. The benefits of this particular hood are great because you can wear a helmet underneath of this, whether it's a battle helmet, a bicycle helmet, a climbing, rappelling helmet, or anything in that nature. So this jacket is real useful. So last but not least, what I want to take a look at is military poncho. Now, the things I like about a military poncho is that, and I've written about these extensively, so you can do military poncho, Craig Cottle, Nature Reliance School, whatever, and find a vast array of information. And if you followed along if you join the Nature Reliance School online class, you can see I utilize this tarp to build shelters, carry people in first aid, to build rafts, to obviously build several different types of shelters, and on and on and on. This is a very useful device. But if I want to wear it, it's incredibly easy to wear. And when I do so, it's incredibly easy. Try to get my microphone down here. You can hear me okay without it sounding muffled. It's incredibly easy to wear. You can do some work. You can't do a lot of stuff where you're going to be on the ground crawling around or stuff of that nature in it. It just gets burdensome to do that. And if I have a pack on, I can just simply throw it right over the pack, and it becomes a real useful tool to wear. Okay, so if I need immediate shelter, having one of these in my kit is another useful situation. Now, the problem with a poncho is that wind's going to catch it and just blow it right up. So the wind on a regular basis will just blow everything right up, and you're soaking wet all of a sudden. So having something such as a military poncho along with maybe a garbage bag is going to be a real useful tool. Now the thing is, whether you're using something that is a garbage bag or a military poncho or a rain jacket, whatever, you want to have the ability to ventilate yourself. That's why I like the pit zips and the ability to ventilate on that one jacket, whereas I don't really have the ability to do that with the frog togs. But on this, if I need to ventilate every so often, I'll just throw this up, catch some wind inside of the poncho itself, and I can cool down rather quickly. Cooling down is real important, because if I'm trying to keep from getting soaking wet and I'm wearing something that's making me sweat excessively, then I'm causing a problem for myself. And so I want to do something that I can wear, stay dry, but not, due to my work, continue to get soaking wet. So I got a couple other things that I want to show you, and that is pack covers. So if I'm wearing a poncho, military poncho, I'll throw the poncho right over top of me. But if I'm wearing a pack and it's not waterproof, and I want to have something to cover it up, I need to get a pack cover. Now this is the pack cover that I'm utilizing now. I'm trying to remember who made this one. I got this from 0241 Tactical Products. I follow their page on Facebook. They have all kinds of ATAX gear. I think in my camouflage series, I talked about how much I like ATAX camo for the environment in which I live in. And this covers my Eberly stock Warhammer perfectly well, and it would basically cover any pack that I have ever owned very well. It's got shock cording on it, and so basically if I'm wearing a rain jacket, I can then put this over top of the pack, and then I provide a moisture barrier away from the rain and the pack, because there's very few packs out there, unless it is a one that's designed for canoeing and paddling, that's going to be waterproof. Now they might shed water might droplet up on top of the pack because they have some sort of Teflon coating or something of that nature, but if they're out in the rain long enough, they are going to get soaking wet, and whatever's inside of them is going to get soaking wet. So a pack cover is an incredibly useful tool to have. So for example, when I go out teaching classes, I've told extensively how I stay in Hennessy hammocks. I will leave my pack underneath my hammock so that the tarp on the hammock helps cover it, as well as I'll have a pack cover on it as well. And so in that manner, when I get out, I can sit on my pack and basically use it as a small seat I can put my shoes on or brush my teeth or whatever I'm going to sit there and do. And then I can also have it useful as a waterproof device. So it makes it real easy to utilize. I've also utilized this in remote situations where I don't want to carry a lot of weight. I will utilize this as a pillow or a headrest. Basically have this on my pack, put an extra jacket or something in it and lay down on it, and that's what I'm going to use as a pillow so that I get good rest. I think we've talked about this enough, but you got to understand in any survival preparedness situation, you want to get plenty of rest. If you're not getting rest, you're not going to function properly. And so something as simple as utilizing this as a headrest will help you get some of that rest. Now, some of the other pack covers that I've had that I've utilized are Eberly stock covers. And the only reason I got something different, these Eberly stock covers are great. Matter of fact, they have a couple of pieces and parts about them that I like even better. They have shock cording that helps attach them to the pack itself, and so they don't come off, whereas that one doesn't. And the other beauty is this, is that it has camouflage on one side and bright orange on the other, so you can use it as a signaling device. So it's only because I don't like this camouflage pattern that I don't still use these, but depending upon the situation, this is what I use. I just have the other one. So if I'm actually going to go in a situation, well, in essence, I basically have this with me at all times. And so this is what I take with me if I'm going on a trip where I'm not going real remote. If I can only take one, probably going to take this one because it does provide some camouflage, but it also provides a signaling device as well. So you can get these from Eberly stock. They're a little pricey, but they last. I've had this one for a couple years and I've used it bunches and bunches of times. It works well. It keeps things dry, and then again I can camo or orange up depending upon what my needs are. So there you go with some ideas for rainproofing yourself and some of your gear. Basically that's a quick and dirty look. Just keep in mind that when you're looking at packs, if they've got zippers and different compartments in them, they're not waterproof. I don't care what anybody says. So I don't care what the marketing says. If it's got a zipper on it, it is not waterproof. It might be water resistant, but it is not waterproof. You've got to get into something that is along the lines of a paddling bag that has no seams, that has welded seams, that has the seams in it are welded. And when I mean welded, I mean they are basically fused together, so there is no seam. But a pack like even my Warhammer, my Everly stock's got zippers and seams and stuff on it. There's no way that water, if I drop that in a river, that it would keep everything dry. Now rain, a little bit of light rain, not going to be a major problem for it. Okay, it's going to shed a lot of that water. But if that rain lasts for more than 15 minutes and where it's a deluge of rain, it's not even going to hold that back. So keep that in mind. Even if I sprayed it down with that silica gel, just because the zippers are there, it's just not going to be a real useful tool. Now with that said, a pack like the Eberly stock has got zipper covers on it, which helps repel a lot of water if it's just raining. But again, a water situation where that pack goes into the drink, or you fall into a river or creek or whatever, number one, you shouldn't be carrying that on your back. If you go into a river situation, never carry your pack on your back, because if you fall in, it's basically going to be dead weight, and you don't want to be doing that. So with that said, make sure that you take your pack off, and if you drop it, it's going to get soaking wet. So even a rain protector like this is not going to be the best situation. All right, so I hope that gives you a lot of ideas on things that you can do with waterproofing. I detailed in the canoe series some things that you could get to carry on a canoe trip. So if I've raised some interest for you in that regard, then check those videos out when I take the canoe out and I talk about gear along the side of it. So check those out. There's all kinds of different manufacturers of completely, totally 100% waterproof gear that you can take on a paddling trip that you could actually add to your survival supplies as well and have a real good waterproof bag. Matter of fact, Eberly stock makes some waterproof bags, some small ones that I put real important gear in, like my radio communication system. I'll have that in a waterproof bag because the radio I have is not waterproof. So I've got a large zip-in Eberly stock bag that zips into my Warhammer that's completely waterproof. And I got that after that trip down to Kentucky, in Paducah, Kentucky, that I taught where it rained for 3 days. That way, if I'm going to go teach a class and I got predicted weather that's going to be bad, then I've got that pack with me. So with all that said, those are some other things that you can consider and take a look at. I've done reviews on them elsewhere, so check out the Nature Reliance School YouTube channel. Check out the Dan's Depot YouTube channel, because there's all sorts of videos there on different pieces of equipment. So we hope you come over to Nature Reliance School online. We got a lot more courses. We're filming a bunch of stuff for an urban preparedness course today. A ton of stuff. We're talking about all the things that set up urban preparedness, how to know that it's coming, how to get your preps ready before it happens so that you and your family are more prepared. So you've already got that started with the Dan's Plain course, and we appreciate that. So come on, join in. Let's learn together. The inside of each of these
Waiting on word from city or state officials to see what's going on, what they can tell us. But right